Hello, the Wine Concierge family. I am excited to be here this evening. We have not done this in a while. Usually we would have, Dan, we would have Wine Lovers Wednesdays.
Ah,
Yes,
cool.
and today's Tuesday, so it's like Wine Lovers Wednesday Eve. But
Eve, there you go.
yeah, exactly. And so we haven't done it in a while, and I really do miss this series of us having an opportunity to chat with the winemakers because we love your wines, and it's always interesting for us nerds to geek out and learn what was, not only in the bottle, but, behind the bottle, what you guys were thinking. And so I really thank you for taking time. I know you've been super busy. You were at the Wine and Men or Men in Wine. Yeah, Men in
Or
Wine
wine,
conference.
yeah, Men in Wine, yeah.
Yes, conference. So I heard that was a big success. So thank you
Yes,
so much for taking time with us. And I'm going
of
to ask
course.
you to introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay. My name is Dan Glover. I am the owner, winemaker, barrel washer, accountant, marketing director of L'Objet Wines. Um, let's see, I started the label in 2009. My first finish was 2008. I So I've been doing this for a little while now, and it's been a roller coaster, like every business has been, but it's been fun. It's a fun ride, and yeah, I'm just gonna keep going and having fun and enjoying life.
Well, I think that's wonderful. So we have two of your wines. We have the Sauvignon Blanc,
Hmm.
and we also have one of your Pinot Noirs, which
Yeah, the 2019.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I thoroughly enjoyed them.
thank you.
So much so that I was sharing with Dan earlier that we're sold out, and I'm hoping we'll get some more. So normally I would have some to sip tonight, but we don't. I don't have any with me. So I was internet snooping, and
Oh,
I noticed that none of those bad pictures came up. You did a very good job of hiding those. No, just joking. Uh, I noticed that you have a background in music. I know there's definitely a love in music. And did you do that? Were you in the music industry or entertainment industry before the wine industry?
yeah, yeah. I started. I mean, I was working as a roadie for a long time, and then
Hmm.
I did some work or I went to music school, and then worked at a couple recording studios, started writing, um, that type of thing for probably, for up until my um, early 30s.
Okay.
So yeah, and so that was great. But the normal story you hear is, you start doing well, and um, somebody wants to take your money, so they do.
Oh,
So um and then just, you kind of get a little disillusioned about it. And the music
mm,
business is very cutthroat, and there's a lot of people that I think, well, entertainment business is just, there's a lot of people that want a piece of you and piece of your money, and they want all the stuff. And so I got very disillusioned with it, and then it kind of propelled me to find something else that was creative. And the wine industry was, I ended up moving here to Sonoma County, and obviously you get immersed in the wine industry when you're here because it's all around you. And that's kind of when I got my bug, and um, so I just decided to pivot and learn how to make wine.
wow. So I have to say, thank you, first of all, sharing that story. But being in the music industry, I can imagine was extremely challenging. But it's not like you went into another industry that's any less challenging. Like, you didn't go into like, I'm going to be a baker. No, you went into something that is equally challenging in a different way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can never do anything easy. I always have to make something hard. So yeah, I mean it was, but I loved wine, and
Mm-hmm.
I loved really good, I've been exposed to some really nice wines, and but I could never afford them. So it's kind of like, you know what,
Right.
I'm gonna learn how to make these wines. And that's kind of where I got my start. I mean, I started at Clos du Bois, a big winery, and I didn't know how to do anything. And
Right.
so that was kind of the start. But I asked a lot of questions, read a lot of books, textbooks, things like that. That's kind of where I got my start, and I just really just immersed myself in the whole thing and
Mm-hmm.
just dove right in.
I mean, if you're going to start someplace, that's a great place to start, because you get to
Yeah.
see from that perspective on a very large scale.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think also it helps when you work at a place like that. You learn you learn really well how to use all the equipment and how to
Mm-hmm.
uh, efficient and work efficiently and that type of thing. So I think that was really, it's a great place to learn how to work in a cellar, because it's so
Right.
big, and there's so many different things you have to do, and you have to do them extremely efficiently and fast. And so that's one of the reasons I think, when I started moving to smaller wineries, I knew how to do all the stuff when I first walked in. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like I didn't have to go, how do you do this? How do you do that? It was, no, I know
Right.
how to do that. So I could be left alone and people would go, okay, great. So I think that's important.
So most people would have just stopped, like they would have just stayed at a winery or moved around or what have you, and moved up and become the chief winemaker, what have you. But you decided, no, I want to take it one step further. I want to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did all that. I
Uh-huh.
got to be assistant winemaker. I got to be a winemaker at a place. And then well, it kind of started because I got a chance to find, or somebody gave me an opportunity to get these certain vineyard of Pinot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd made it before and I loved it. And I knew it was highly coveted. It's called Bacigalupi Vineyard. And so I got a chance to buy a couple tons from them. And so I did. And I got to make it where I was the winemaker. But, at some point, I've got to sell this wine so I can keep buying those grapes.
Right.
So I had to figure out, was I going to stay a winemaker and just, make wine and for myself, but not sell it and not do anything with it? Or, am I going to jump off and go do this? And
Right.
so yeah, I decided to go jump off and go do this. So it was
You
pretty,
did.
which is scary, but it was, I think it's what I don't know. If for me, I've always worked, um, I've always liked working for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of another motivating factor. And I just decided that, yeah, it's time to go and start and see if I can do this. So I've been doing it ever since.
What's your favorite style of music? Like, what's
Oh,
your
geez.
genre?
I don't know if I have one. It
What do
depends
you
on my mood.
play when you're making wine most of the time?
Again, it changes. It could be anything from Aerosmith to James Brown.
Okay. All right.
Sometimes Ohio Players.
Okay.
Mostly like a lot of old R&B, funk, 70s to sometimes I'll play like I'll play some jazz, and sometimes I'll play Metallica. So
Okay. I'd like to taste the wine on Metallica.
actually, you
That ought
might
to
be.
be, that's bubbly, that's coming, right? It's got to be
So I
interesting.
think that might be my red blend, which I'm bottling.
Okay.
Which
Well,
I'm
on your
bottling at February.
on your site, you have like you paired music with wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is
and that's my friend who does all my artwork and my web design. Her and I kind of sit down and curate that. And a lot of it has to do with setting moods. And one of the reasons I wanted to put music, and as you see, there's also like a food thing with it also. And I
yes.
love to cook. So it's kind of not just food and wine pairing, but it's a whole mood setting. So, maybe you have this wine with this dinner with this music, I mean, it makes, the music makes everything, I think makes everything taste better. I mean, that's why there's like soft music playing in these high-end restaurants. There's, it makes just the mood, it makes a mood, and it makes things more enjoyable. So I think it's kind of a suggestion along with the dish as to what to have with the wine.
Oh, for sure. Wine and music are absolutely key, especially
Yeah.
when you're vacuuming, especially when you're
You're back to
vacuuming.
me.
Yeah, can't do that alone. Nope.
I just prefer not to. I prefer not to.
We're just cleaning the house, right?
You gotta have something playing while
Yes.
you're cleaning the house to keep you motivated.
No, yours is
Exactly.
good. You've got a really nice tier going on. I really enjoy, like, there's something that they all have a nice foundation of good flavor, round flavor, full flavor, nothing, like dismissive. Some things can kind of like taper off and you lose the taste a little bit, especially in some of the whites, but I really like yours. They stay with you a while. They're good for sipping and for food. So I
Thank you.
definitely talk that up quite a bit, but I really do. I like them.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Can you
Absolutely.
talk about, can we start with the Sauvignon Blanc? Can you tell us about Sauvignon Blanc?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the Sauvignon Blanc comes from a vineyard. My friends Bob and Sandy Comstock, and I've known them forever. So
Okay.
they have a vineyard that's northern Dry Creek, and I am fortunate enough that I've been making Sauvignon Blanc from this vineyard this is my 10th year now. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and I really
Congrats.
love it. It's great. And so this is always harvested fairly early, and it's also I'm also that's, somebody's at my door. Screw them. It's somebody for one of the city council members. So then
It's election time, right?
yes, it's election day and they're knocking on my door. Anyway, so one of the things I like to do with this is I do something a little different. And one of the reasons I do it is, so I actually, when the grapes come in, I let it sit on skins for a day or two. And what that does is I think it brings out a little more mouthfeel, softens, rounds out the mouthfeel some, and also brings out a little more of that tropical fruit that I love in this wine. And it's kind of like something they do in Sancerre. And again, there's not a lot of people doing that here, or there weren't 10 years ago. I think some more people are starting to do it now. But that was my kind of, I needed to make it something a little different. And, Leslie, like I said earlier while we were chatting, I always love to be the contrarian, do something different and not do the norm. So that was kind of my way of saying, I'm doing it my way. So And I love this wine. I pair it with all sorts of foods. Or like you said, you can just drink this on its own.
Right.
And,
Mhm.
especially, in the summer, when you're sitting on your porch and this is kind of a great wine, or if you're just having soup for dinner, this is a great wine for that too. So especially on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, just pop this open and it's perfect.
It's it's no big secret amongst my friends or the world that I'm not a big Sauvignon Blanc fan. It wasn't until I would say maybe a couple of years ago that I
Excuse me. Uh-oh. I think we lost her.
Hold on.
okay, this is what being live is all about. Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was just karma, the Sauvignon Blanc gods getting back at me. But
Yes.
I really enjoy your Sauvignon Blanc, and I love, like you said, the tropical notes of it. I mean, you still have a little of that herbaceous flavors in there, but it's not overwhelming.
Right.
Sometimes that's all it leads with in the Sauvignon Blanc, but it's a great complement to all of the other flavors in there that makes it
Mhm.
you appreciate it so much, and why you can drink it by itself and not necessarily have to have food to go along with it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a fun wine to drink, and that's one of the things that with all my wines, I want them to be something you can drink with, without food if you don't want to, but something that spans a lot of different types of cuisines. And so that's because I like to cook a lot of different things. So if I'm going to cook a lot of different things, I need a wine to go with it. So
Yeah. This is for those who will be listening to this. This is a great Thanksgiving wine. Like,
Oh
if
yeah.
you bring this wine to a friend's giving, you will be friend of the year. I'm telling you now. You can send me cash later.
Yep.
But this is the one. This is the one you want to bring.
I think it is a great starter in particular.
Mhm.
A great starting wine for that. It just leads into everybody wants to do Thanksgiving, they either always go right for the sweet in the get-go, or they do a Chardonnay. And I'm like, it's got to be a little in between. And it's hard to find a Sauvignon Blanc that can really, really, I think, suit that. Although Sauvignon Blanc is a great wine altogether, but I really like yours too. Like she said, it has those nuances to it that's just a little bit different, but they're really well balanced.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I think Sauvignon Blanc gets a bad rap because it's usually not, it's obviously always lower on the price scale. And but I think there's some fun things you can do with it, and some fun flavors, notes you can extract from it, and not manipulate it, but there's stuff you can do to kind of get it so it can speak for itself, stand on its own, and become a really nice, a great grape to have, to make a really complex, a more complex wine than most people think, and not just have this acid bomb.
Right.
So
right.
And that's kind of what I like to do, is try and get this stuff out and get it more, make it more prominent.
Well,
So
we
did you
appreciate that.
did you start with Sauvignon Blanc, or did I hear you say you bought Merlot or
So
Pinot Noir first? Pinot first.
Yeah, Pinot's what I started with. That's always been, my favorite varietal.
Okay.
But well, not always. I think Zin was my first favorite varietal, and then I went to Pinot after that.
I mean,
But
Zin is
pretty quickly.
classic.
Yes. Would you do a Zen? Mentioning Zen, would you do a
Yeah,
Zen?
so the red blend is Zen with Petit
Okay.
Syrah and Merlot in it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
you said your friends over, was it Bob and Cindy? Comstock,
Sandy,
right?
yeah.
Sandy,
Yeah.
Comstock. You said they're in
Yeah.
Dry Creek, so,
Yeah, I don't get Zin from them.
Okay.
They sell all their Zin to other people, unfortunately. But funny thing is, I used to make their Zin when I was winemaker at Dutcher Crossing, which is right up the road. So I was one of the I think it was their second harvest we started making Zin out of their grapes. So yeah, so I've made their Zin before and I like their Zin. It's just right now that they're selling it to everybody else, some other people. So
Okay.
so I'm sourcing it. It's still in Dry Creek, but just a different vineyard.
Now your Pinot
Gotcha.
Noir, you have several different Pinots. Are they from different vineyards?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're different vineyards, different years, which I'm selling out of, which is good. I'm kind of selling out of my old vintages, which is it's good. I kept a lot of it back because I wanted to see what it was going to turn into.
Mhm.
And because I'm a big believer in, like, I like to hold my wines in barrel for 2 years before I bottle it, and then I like to hold it for at least another year. I fell in love with Pinot drinking kind of those older style Burgundian wines,
Okay.
and so that's kind of that's what I'm really into. So those are the wines that's what I'm kind of trying to recreate here in California, or kind of blend that vibe with California wine, knowing the terroir that's here and letting the grapes speak for themselves, but yet kind of present them in a style that's a little more Burgundian and not as California-esque as some people might think. So yeah, I like to hold on to them, and I'm starting to, I've got just had some folks try my 2010 and loving it, and it's very rustic and old and but beautiful. I have a couple 16s right now that are tasting great, and the 19 that you have, I think is really tasting great. And
It is. It
Yep.
is.
I can't wait to taste it in 5 years if I have any left. I'll make sure and save a case or two.
You got to keep some for yourself.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, that's the thing.
It's hard. I mean, it's meant to be drunk, but it's like, how long can I hold on to this one bottle a year? I got to try it. I got to save it.
Right.
How far can it go just for my own? I mean, I'm
Right.
sure that it just really makes you happy to know that your wine is capable of going towards that style that you're trying to put out. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
pretty impressive, because that's advanced mouthfeel right there. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I like to tell people, people say, how'd you develop your palate? And I just tell people, well, it's practice.
Yeah.
Lots of practice.
Yeah.
But but that's the thing. I think, with saving some of these older wines, I want other people to enjoy them as well. And that's one of the things that really, really like makes me happy is when I'm pouring some of my older wines even, and they try them and they go, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, yes, this is, I did it. So that's very satisfying as far as, your craft and what you're doing and for a living. And so it keeps you going, keeps you motivated.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your production? Like, what's the average production on the cases for like the Pinot and the Sauv Blanc? Like, how much are you actually putting out for sale versus holding back?
Well, I make about 350 cases of Pinot and about 450 of Sauv Blanc right now.
Okay.
It varies, but that's kind of the average for the last few years.
Okay. Nice.
It's, you know, it's kind of what I can sell on my own.
Right.
And, you know, most of my wines are sold direct to consumer. I don't do a lot of distributing, and you know, when Leslie, when you reached out to me, it was, you know, I thought, you know, it's not something I normally do, but you know, when I figure, you know, trying to help out other African American businesses succeed, it's an important thing for me. And so to support, you know, you're supporting me, I'm supporting you, you know, and I think that mutual thing and that community thing is really important. So that's one of the reasons I was like, yes, Leslie, let's do this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And being on the East Coast, we just don't have the opportunity exposure unless like we just go to your site directly. So I
Right.
appreciate that, you know, we're able to share this with more people on this side of the country and have that exposure.
Me too. Me too. No, it's really great. And I appreciate the work you're doing, and it's great to see. And so, you know, I think, like I said, you know, we're both kind of supporting each other, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that is longevity in this
Yes.
Very much.
Game. I had mentioned earlier that you participated in the Men in Wine conference, and
Mhm.
is that Sharice?
Yes.
Yeah, that's me. Because
Oh,
I'm on
before-
a different time zone. I got it confused. Of course I did. So yeah,
no,
I'm
that's
here.
very welcome. Kenny, this is Sharice. She's one of our
Hi,
club members.
Sharice.
Right. I think
How you
I've met you
doing?
before. I feel like
Was I
with
okay?
no, with wine skipping, another company was doing this, featuring this wine. I've had the Pinot many times. I love it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you
I
very
love
much.
it. Yes, it's a beautiful, it's so smooth and beautiful. I've never had the Sauv Blanc, but I am looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Sharice. That's very nice. I really.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
So I was going to ask you about the celebration.
Oh, yeah.
The great Marcy, she put this together. She always puts the best events together, and just the significance of it. I think this is the first time she did it.
No, this is her second Men in Wine.
Okay.
She's done 2 Women in Wine. She just did the last one in, I think, this summer. And then so all African American women that are making wine. And then she did this is the second one. We did before COVID, I think we did one down in San Francisco.
Okay.
This one was much better. And Marcy had more control over this one than she did the first one.
Okay.
So it ended up being a lot better. Yeah, it was an amazing event, and the wines, you know, everybody brought, you know, stellar wines, and it's great to see, and the support for Marcy's scholarship is really important to see. And you know, she's giving money to these kids that want to get into winemaking but didn't really know or don't have the wherewithal to kind of go, oh, I can do this.
Right.
So she's telling them that they can, and now she's going, you know, here's some money to get you through college, which I think is really important. And
It's
so
amazing.
yeah, so she's doing great work, and you know, anything I can do to support her. You know, when she says, "What can you help me with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you need?" So no, Marcy's been great, and you know, she's always been a huge supporter of all of us winemakers, men and women. You know, so And so, whatever she asked for, you kind of just go, yeah, what do you need?
It's awesome. It's awesome, awesome. So you just finished harvest, and
Mhm.
what can we expect? I know it's going to be a couple of years, but what can we expect in 2023?
Let's see. Well, let's start with the Sauvignon Blanc.
Mhm.
I think it might be one of my best vintages.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have to
It's
have a
Which-
conversation.
Wait, which vintage is being released for 2023? You're doing 2022 vintage for the
yeah,
Sauv Blanc? Okay.
yeah. So I'll bottle that probably in February. And yeah, it's probably one of my favorite vintages so far. It's it was a little funky in the vineyard at first. There's some kind of weird stuff, and so I wasn't sure if I was going to leave it on the skins for a day, but I decided to anyway. And during fermentation, it was great. It was just this really big tropical fruit.
Cheers.
And then there's this little botrytis thing going on, and this noble rot thing going on in it. And so now it has this little hint of honey to it, which I've never had
Ooh.
before. So and it's just this little itty bitty hit. It doesn't make the wine sweet. It's just this kind of little hint of, yeah, just this little, back note. But
Does it
during
give it like a
fermentation,
round?
yeah, there's definitely a roundness to it. It's a little fatter than most Sauvignon Blancs. A little more weight in the mouth. But yeah, the Sauvignon Blanc this year is I'm really looking forward to get this in bottle, and because I've been tasting it a lot this last couple weeks.
As
great
you
to be a
should.
winemaker.
As
Yeah,
you
well,
should.
quality control and all that, right?
It's great to be a winemaker.
Look, man, somebody has to.
Yeah, it's a tough job. Let's see, and then the Pinot Noir is really good, and I'm really excited about that also. Again, it's from the same vineyard as the 19, so that's going to be, I just love this vineyard. It's, there's two different clones, and I get to blend them and then have, but they're, so everything brings something a little different to the table, and that's what makes it a little more complex. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like this vineyard. And it's down, it's kind of in a fog belt. So it doesn't get it gets hot, but it doesn't get that long time of heat. It's only a short time during the day. So and it's one of the last things we pick.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how cool climate it is. It's
Is
very
it
interesting.
down like bottom hillside, or is it further up on the top?
Actually, it goes from kind of a floor uphill,
Okay.
facing east.
You get a nice little blending of that difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So no, it's a very cool vineyard. And so there's that. Then I made Zin and a little bit of Merlot and Petit Syrah for my red blend, and all those came out really well also. So the harvest was really good. All my malolactic fermentations are done, and I put everything in barrel and put it to bed, and now I go travel everywhere.
So it sounds like a spring tasting release in the DC area is a must.
That's what it sounds like to me.
I
yeah.
think do
Okay,
that.
wait a minute. Wait. I
Oh,
don't
you've got-
live in the
You can
Where
make
are
it
you,
up.
Sharice?
I'm in Arkansas. Am I gonna have to come sleep with one of y'all's couches in protest? I mean,
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm in Arkansas. I can't remember if you even shipped to me.
We
I can't
do.
remember. Well, I know y'all do, but
Oh.
because I want to get some of that Sauv Blanc, I know I have to have some now that I'm hearing about it. because I've never had it. Now I have to have it. It's gonna be a problem.
I bet Leslie will put it on regular retail.
I bet
Yeah.
you she would too, because she loves it.
Yeah, yes. Yes, I think we'll be placing another order very soon.
I think that would be a
Thank you,
really
ladies.
great spring release dinner. And
Yeah.
my brain's already spinning. Like I'm already thinking on right. I know where you should have it too. There's this new fabulous female chef in the DC area that I met this last week, and she's looking to do some dinners come the spring. So
Oh, okay.
Yes, and you can come in time for the cherry blossoms. And didn't you say your brother
Oh,
lives in
yeah.
Virginia?
Yeah, my brother lives in Virginia.
Yeah, there you go. You can bring him
So-
along too.
I have really good
Yeah.
friends that live in DC, George and Amanda. So
sounds like a trip.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have a
I
lot of
think it
friends in
is.
the DMV
I think it's
area,
gonna-
so you know, I'm just saying.
it's
Oh, I
gonna
know
have
a
to
lot.
happen.
I know a lot of people that would come for that. That would be great.
Yeah, me too.
So let me just hold on. Let me just write that down. 2023.
and you know, I mean, I can do
Spring
a plane trip.
release.
I'm always about a plane trip.
Yes,
Right.
yes. We'll make it a weekend.
Look, don't threaten me with a good time.
Exactly.
Oh, that would be fun. I have a
Yeah.
question. So you were talking about the Sauvignon Blanc was doing a little a funkiness in the vineyard, and it was like almost like this botrytis effect, kind of the way that it was acting, like what you were thinking it was going towards, but then maybe not. Do you know, because of where the vineyard is you were describing, is there anywhere in the area? I know obviously Bordeaux and areas of France and Washington State, this grape is very popular, especially with Sauv Blanc blends. But the Semillon grape, does that grow anywhere in particular that is utilized in Sonoma Dry Creek that you know of?
No, not a lot. There are a few people that are growing Semillon, but
Okay.
it's not bottled. There's not a lot of
Okay.
people bottling it as a single varietal,
Okay.
which is kind of sad because I like Semillon.
And you think it would do
Um,
well out there
I
where you are,
I
or
think it
where?
would grow. I think it would grow well. I
Okay.
just don't know if there's a big market for it, because a lot of people don't realize that, you know, some of these French wines they're drinking have Semillon in it.
Right.
You know, so
It's used a lot in blending in Washington State in particular. And where
Yeah.
you are, that area just reminds me of some parts of like Yakima Valley. And
Mhm.
in that area in general, it does so well there. And I'm thinking you're talking about the Sauv Blanc, and I'm like, even if it wasn't a dessert style wine, you could blend that Sauv Blanc and that Semillon. And you were just talking about earlier how you like to do things the hard way.
yes.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, no,
Those are really
Um,
good.
no, I think well, it's funny because where I make my wine, the owner of that winery, Mike Duffy of Optima, he makes a dry Gewürztraminer.
Oh, okay, nice.
And so then he started making this white blend where he takes some of my Sauvignon Blanc, and then he takes a little bit of Gewürztraminer and some Pitbull and blends them together to make a white wine blend. And it's absolutely fabulous. It's so good.
What grape did you just say? You cut out there. Did you say
Pitbull?
Picpool? Really?
Yeah.
Now, I have not heard of that.
Picpool, P-I-C.
You've
yeah.
never heard of Picpool?
I have not.
It's a really good.
It's not,
really
again,
pretty.
it's a lot of people use
Blending.
it for blending.
More blending. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But some more people are starting to use it as a single varietal bottling.
Washington
And,
State and Northeast, actually, in particular. Yeah.
I had it as a single varietal a few months ago, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's really
Really?
nice. This
Yeah.
particular one is very green apple flavors.
Okay.
That's
Very-
interesting.
I can send you a recommendation, Leslie, on
Yeah,
one.
I'd like to.
Yeah. We've
Hmm.
given you all these suggestions. So we got a varietal you should start making. We got a
Well, he does everything
big
else so
DMV
well. Why
area.
not?
What else do you need? What else do you need?
Why not? I mean, seriously, it's like I I love it. You have a style that you kind of want to go towards, and you work with what Mother Nature gives you, but it seems like just from listening to you talk that you know where you kind of want to head with the profile of the wine, and you really work to gear towards that and gear towards that. And of course, I mean, you can only do what you can do with what you get, but at the same time, you have a good palate for it. So it's not like, hey, I'm just going to blend this wine and hope it turns out. You
Right.
really know where you're going with it, which is really important. And you're very successful with it. So I can't,
Thank you.
yeah, you're
Thank you
doing
very
good.
much. I appreciate
Keep
that.
going, keep going. Whatever music you're listening to, keep listening to it.
So I actually have a question, and forgive me because I was tardy if you answered this question. So you do seem to do low intervention wines because it feels so smooth and classic and just it's not like a Pinot Noir from California that I've ever had before because I'm not really a California Pinot person, but but so you really do low intervention with your wines, correct?
Yeah. So especially the Pinot, it's more, well, all of them really. So with the Pinot, I don't add yeast. It's all natural fermented. And then natural ML. I use probably about 20% new oak. Sauvignon Blanc doesn't see any oak at all.
Okay.
My red blend doesn't see any new oak. Well, maybe if I can throw in like a year old barrel or something like that, I'll use. But so I want that to be low in oak also. It's not that I'm opposed to oak. I just don't want it to overpower anything because again, if I'm going to pair this with foods, also if I want the wine to speak to place, the terroir, the oak's just going to block all that. So I really want these wines to really speak to the terroir. And I have really good sources, so the luck that's so I'm really fortunate that way, and I don't have to do a lot of manipulation, and there's years sometimes where you do, but for the most part I don't have to because the grapes I'm very fortunate that the grapes I get are spectacular. So I don't have to do, the nice thing is I don't have to worry about the science or doing the winemaking thing. I know it, but I don't have to think about it and apply it most of the time, which is nice. And I can just sit around and drink wine and geek out with other winemakers and not worry about it with my wines.
That would be a wall I'd like to be a fly on.
Right.
I don't know, it gets really geeky.
And this is a question I typically ask all winemakers because they're really good at promoting their wines. What's a wine that's not in your catalog, that's not yours personally, that you really enjoy?
Well, like I was mentioning before, my friend Mike makes this blend. He makes the dry Gewürztraminer that I love. He makes some really beautiful cabs. I have a few friends that I'm really excited about their wines. I was at the Menin wine thing last week, and Thomas T. Thomas is making a really nice Chardonnay Pinot.
Okay.
And Opaki is making a great cab and really nice rosé. And Phil Long at Longevity, he's making some really lovely wines. We had his in for dinner and it was great. Again, not that big, huge jammy zin. It was like very finesse, it was balanced, and it was
there we go,
very well
Leslie.
made wine. So, those are a few folks. So, I've, it's funny. Most of the wines I drink are my friends' wines, or else they're foreign.
I was gonna say you're probably
So-
not in a shortage for wines like in the surrounding area of people that you get together with. I'm sure you
Right.
probably all share
Yeah.
each other's. Yeah.
You're
Well,
not
the
from
funny thing is
Arkansas.
actually, the funny thing is like most of the time when I get together with other winemakers, we're bringing, a lot of times they're foreign wines.
Okay.
Um,
Exciting.
so that's kind of what gets us going. It just, what are they
Inspiration.
doing in Italy, Spain, France?
Huh.
I have some Australian friends that, I love to drink wine with their wines. So there's a lot of German wines sometimes, and Austrian wines, and, so just kind of just different things that we don't have here, because when you're here and you're in Sonoma County and Napa County and you have those friends, you do drink those wines a lot. So when you get a chance to kind of go, what don't we get a lot of? And so that's kind of what we gravitate to a lot of times.
It makes sense.
That's
I-
awesome.
I heard you mention that you do your minimal intervention with the Pinot and you try to let it ferment naturally. How long does that process generally take for you with that method?
2 to 3 weeks. So it's not
Okay.
super slow, but it's not
Super
super
slow.
long either.
Right.
I mean, it's not super fast either. Sometimes because it's natural yeast, I don't have with some cultivated yeast, they're kind of a slower fermenting thing. Whereas you do naturally, you kind of don't understand, you don't know what you're getting. So you have to kind of
Right.
chill it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So when it starts getting high, you chill it down a little bit because it can get too hot. and you
Really
start
keep
cooking.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing where I'm probably during fermentation is probably where I'm most involved and, really hands-on, making sure that the temperature doesn't get too hot. And that's something that's really huge. So that way it's not going to cook and ferment in a week, and just go.
Right.
And then, I want,
That's it.
I want
Yeah.
that time on the skins for the Pinot to develop flavors and tannins and things like that. So that's important.
Do you do your own punch down?
I do.
That's fun, isn't
I
it?
do.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Until it
I
gets
saw-
really.
I've
until
walked
it's
on the
about 15
cap a
bricks.
couple times, but it was a little
was-
scary because
Yeah.
that CO2 comes up, you need to either have a mask or get the heck out of Dodge.
Yes.
Yeah, I
pretty
You don't
much.
want to be
Video.
part of the wine.
I saw the video of somebody doing a punch down, and oh my God, you know how strong you have to be to do that?
Well, it's a very dangerous job too. It's an
Yeah,
extremely dangerous
so-
job.
So, most of my stuff is fermented in T-bins on the floor. So I don't have to climb up and do one of those things.
Okay.
It's
okay,
very
that's-
dangerous.
Yeah,
we
that's-
stopped. We don't do that at our winery. If OSHA caught you doing that, you'd be shut down in a heartbeat because people
Yeah.
have died that way.
And people still do
So-
it.
Yeah, I know. And I've seen it on Instagram.
All
and
the
I'm-
time.
And I'm going, are you kidding me? So, if
I've
that
got a
person
picture
falls-
of myself up there. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah. No, I used to do it too. At one of the wineries I worked at, you're just kind of standing on this board, punching down. And,
Right.
you don't, as a kid, or a kid, but when I
Yeah.
first got in there, I didn't know any better. But now it's after being a winemaker and having to go through the whole OSHA thing and OSHA trainings and,
Right.
employment safety things, you just go, that's crazy. People die
You
that way. And
Don't
I'm not going to be
want
responsible for it.
any Danny Glover flavored wine.
No,
Right.
that's why I don't stop.
It's
with
terrible.
TV.
Yeah,
To have
not
to
like
think.
that. Not like
No,
that. Not like
no,
that.
not that way.
No.
I was just curious. That was kind of a fun
Yeah.
question.
No, I do, but I do the, in the T-bins, yeah, I do them all the
Punch
time.
down. Yes, okay. It's
No,
still
and it's a
dangerous,
great way for
but
me to see what the fermentation's doing every day, and
yeah,
because you smell it at the same time and you taste it, and you know that's the whole. That's why I like doing my own punch downs, is that way I can kind of get an idea of what the wine's doing. You know, even like, you know, for 3 times a day, it's kind of like, okay, here it is, and changes sometimes, you know, from the morning to the nighttime. So that's, you know, that's, and to keep on top of it. Again, not manipulating it, but just kind of knowing that, you know, what's going on, and make sure that,
right.
you know, it's like babysitting, you know, it's like watching your kid. It's like, you gotta make sure it's not getting in trouble.
Right. Any plans to do a rosé?
I have in the past, and I just didn't get the grapes that I wanted to the last couple of years. So,
Okay.
but usually if I do a rosé, it's usually because I can find something that's fairly inexpensive,
Right.
and I can pick it, and I can get it picked early. A lot of these red varietals these days, it's hard to get it picked early because everybody's working on whites at the time. So,
Okay.
and there's not a lot of crews out. You know, there's the amount of labor that's around here these days is really dwindled, so it's a little harder.
Right.
I think I'd like to at some point get back into it, because I actually was, you know, like I was mentioning to Leslie earlier, my the woman who does my artwork and website, her and I partnered up to do a what I called the La Femme Mystique, and she did the whole label for that. It's kind of her brand; she owns it, and so we were giving proceeds from that wine to different charities, you know, throughout the years.
Okay.
You know, we started out with the Malala Fund, and then we went to sex trafficking here in San Francisco and Oakland. So, you know, we're still, but I'm hoping, you know, 2020 with the fires kind of put a kibosh on it, and then
And then
I just,
some.
I just,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, so now it's just kind of like, okay, well, let's, you know, so now I do want to get back into it. It's just a matter of, you know, finding the grapes again and all
I'd
that
love
stuff.
to see
So
where you go with that. I think you do a really fun rosé. That would be cool.
it is fun, actually. I do more of a rosado style,
Okay.
Spanish rosado,
Yeah.
because a lot of the varietals I don't use Pinot. For me personally, I'm not a Pinot rosé person, because I think that, first of all, those grapes are really expensive.
Yeah.
And to bleed off a bunch of juice, it's just like, wait, what am I
You're
doing?
missing out a little bit there.
Yeah, yeah.
Why waste it?
Yeah, but no, you know, so I made one with Zinfandel and Merlot and Grenache one year. So I kind of blend a couple different varietals together, which is fun. And that's, you know, it's a tough job, those couple days kind of blending everything together, you know,
Yeah.
sitting around trying different, you know, percentages of each one. And, you know, so I got to take an Uber home. So that's a tough job,
For
part of my
sure.
job. But yeah, so yes, I do want to start making one again. It's just a matter of
Getting that
once
in
I get
there.
the grapes.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen a Carmenere rosé. I know it sounds strange, but that grape has some significant potential for that. Just because it can be big enough, but yet not too big.
Mhm.
But I haven't
Right.
seen it in a really long time.
I haven't either. I don't know anybody's growing it.
There you go.
And there you go.
Yeah.
That sounds fun though.
I am not
It
a
does sound
rosé
fun.
fan, but there are a few that I like, but I'm not like if rosé was out, that's like the last thing I would pick. And Leslie has a really beautiful rosé she sent me this last shipment that I really, really enjoyed and would totally buy again. But I would be interested to see how your rosés would translate, considering your other wines. Usually when I like a wine, I try to try other varietals that person produces, because I'm usually happy with it, you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think, yeah, like I said, my rosés tend to be a little more rosado Spanish, you know, so not that light, not that kind of light pink,
Yeah.
some more,
Yeah.
Provence style. I'm a little more,
Cherise, you would like it.
It presents like a red or something.
I'm just gonna throw it out there right off the get-go. You would like it.
Okay,
yeah,
okay. I trust you. I trust
it's
you.
kind of a rosé for red wine drinkers.
See, and that's what I like.
Yeah,
I don't like
yeah,
rosés that have muddy flavors and I can't figure out what's going on,
right,
no one
exactly.
gonna get hit with,
Do you have any parting words for us before we say goodbye?
Well, I hadn't planned a speech, but I will say,
Okay, open the wine.
Right.
I will say, thank you for having me, and it's lovely to Leslie put a face, and to meet Christina, Cherise. It's a pleasure to meet you both. And I just, I don't know. I just want to say that I'm glad we're partnering up, and I'm glad we're doing this and supporting each other. And that's, I think, what one of the great things that this thing we drink called wine is it kind of helps to create communities. And
I agree. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
I think the more we have something to bond over, and we have something to appreciate together, the more we enjoy life. And I think that's huge. And
Yep.
So use this thing we drink called wine as not just something to drink. It's definitely something that brings people together, like food, like music. And it should be considered